Welcome back to Unlikely. And 2025 is a huge, massive year for TNA. The return of live shows, bigger venues, and some historic partnerships, which we'll get to with a man who joined us in studio last year as he was on the hunt for the TNA World Championship. And now he is TNA World Champion. He's also a fellow Clevelander, one of the best of all time when it comes to Cleveland. Nick Nemeth is here. Good day, sir, and thank you for joining us, man.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I like it. One of the greatest of all time. I was like, hell yeah, ... for Cleveland. I went, well, okay, all right.
I was going to say, you know what?
Like
I didn't know if I should qualify it with wrestling. I didn't know if I should qualify it with Cleveland. I didn't know if I should just do it in general. And before we get into the wrestling, I do want to, let's talk about Cleveland for a second. Obviously, Bob Uecker passed away earlier this week. Rest in peace to the legend. Can we just confirm this right now? Major League, greatest sports movie of all time, yes or no?
It's not. I mean, especially if you're a Clevelander, no question. There's nothing else that comes close. And we just did something at a sports talk radio show, and I go, man, first thing I said, he goes, we got a baseball player here. I was like, Tell me what your Bob Uecker story is going to be. It's like, I was going to meet him this year, but here's the story. And there's so many going around. And I go, at least there's one positive yesterday, there was one positive that I go, everyone's going to fill my timeline on social media with Norm Macdonald talking about Bob Uecker and Bob Uecker stories. And there was so many one-liners. And I even got one when we did Busted Open Radio, Thursday. I got one in there, and he was like, he goes, that one year I was minor league player of the year. He goes, it was my second year in the big leagues. And I was like, yes, that's perfect. It was like only he could say these lines and be so great about it. And it's the coolest thing ever. What an ambassador to the sport. What an ambassador to the world. Beloved guy. Even if someone had some bad word to say about him, I've never heard it. And we'd probably all laugh if someone goes, oh, yeah, he was the worst person ever. We'd all be like, sure, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. He's such a nice guy, a hero to so many. Like in comedy, he was even at the Hall of Fame speech, not just for real baseball, but for WWE, for Heenan stuff. Like, man, he's the coolest, greatest, funniest guy, and a loss to everybody. Yeah,
no, 100%, like a real ambassador for wrestling, and also like, when you talk about professional sports, like he was the heel commentator, like naturally of sports, you know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. Yeah. And to transition off of that and to stick with media, you brought up Busted Open, and I know you've been doing that for a year. And I also know you say this a lot, that like you historically do not like watching wrestling.
Famously, do not watch wrestling.
I said you're one of the greatest of all time. It turns into historic when you see what I'm saying. And there's always been dirt sheets. There's always been rumors. We fantasy book. This is what fans do, right?
Yeah, sure.
But it's been fascinating that we have like Sean Ross Sapp is our Adam Schefter, and we have Busted Open on Sirius XM, globally available, having these conversations. For you being in the business for so long, and I know being a massive sports fan, is it kind of crazy that it is now covered exactly like if you turn on the NFL Network, you can put on Busted Open and get that same thing for wrestling?
I think it's cool, man. And yeah, of course, because one, I mean, 2/3 of the world calls it a sport anyway. Some of us, WWE coined the phrase sports entertainment, but we add those pieces in there. But it is, and it's covered because it's that reach is there, whether it's a niche audience, but it's a niche audience in 20 different audiences, so it's all over the world. And I love that it's covered like that. It gives me something to talk about, even though I famously do not watch wrestling. I am at Busted Open, very proud of the work, especially Dave LaGreca and his team, like everybody there. Bubba, Tommy, Mark, Thunder, everybody rocks. And I'm just getting the hang of it, but I really love it. I hope I'm offering a unique perspective to it when I go, hey, I'm currently in the business for the most part at the top, world champ, but also still had a 20-year career, so I could call on stories and scenarios, but also I'm actively at the top of a roster of anywhere. So I hope my unique perspective adds to it. because it's so cool being on that team, and everybody works so hard and loves. When you see the love of wrestling, no matter what the situation is and who it is, I just love. So many fans come up to me now. For years, it was like, hey, the cash in, WWE, no, but I was half the time, went from 0 to half. Like, I love you on Busted Open. This is so cool. I'm like, hey, 24/7, brother, let's do it.
Nah, that's an amazing thing. And pardon me, I'm going to try to get my Adam Schefter on right now. There was a rumor last week that you signed a TNA contract extension. Are you able to talk about that and confirm that? Or
I'm able to do whatever the hell I want. I mean, I didn't tell anybody that, but I believe in the company so much that I refuse to sign a long-term deal with anybody because I just got out of a long-term relationship, and I said, hey, listen, I don't want to sign it. I go, I'm not going anywhere. I love being here. And this last year has made it my love for TNA behind the scenes and in the ring even more so. I believe in so many people here. Tommy, Gail, Ariel behind the scenes, and everybody in the ring. And I feel like the next 5 years are going to be huge for them. So I am proud to be a member. I won't ever sign a long-term deal, but I'm going to be here for a long time.
And one thing I do, you busted open, you completed a year. Obviously in TNA, you've been here now for a little bit over a year. And to me, as someone trying to grow this show and kind of betting on myself with some of the things I'm doing outside of my radio job, it's been motivation. It's been inspiring. And to me, for you this past year, you've bet on yourself. You've talked about that. I want to go test the waters outside of what I know, which was WWE. And you did it all over the globe, and you're still doing that. So with all that being said, was year one of the TNA era of Nick Nemeth, do you consider it a success?
I think it's a huge success. And I got to tell you, like a year ago, I was scared to death. I didn't know. I go, in this bubble, I kicked ass. And I don't know anyone that was better than me. And it doesn't matter that I had 9,000 losses to every 2 wins or whatever the hell it was. I go, I know my job and how I'm good at it. I was very nervous to go, maybe I'm only good with these 60 people. I don't know. And I didn't want to pretend that, like, oh, I'll just be able to adapt to Japan, to Mexico, to TNA, to AEW, to everyone bouncing around. I go, I don't know if I can. I was very honest and scared, and which made me excited again because I was very not scared the last 12 years in WWE, just going, yeah, I'm going to steal the show, and I won't even have to try that hard. Okay, got it. And now it gets me thinking again, gets the juices flowing again to going, man, this last year has been so fun to watch people at TNA that maybe a year ago I didn't know their names. And now that I'm shouting them out on interviews going, these guys, these gals, this team, they're the future. I'm happy to be here for it. And I hope I'm leading the charge that's helping them get 1% more noticed.
And as we head into TNA Genesis, and talking about all these things, like obviously wrestling, and I mean this all around the globe, is in this boom period, right? And TNA is no different. And you betting on yourself and kind of being the QB1 of TNA along with others. When you get the chance to be alone, when you're traveling, you get a moment to think and get away from all the noise. Is it a situation where that pressure is still there? Or I'm not even phrasing this question properly. I'm just wondering, is it a feeling of like, yo, this is what I've always wanted, so let's go. If I need to do 50 interviews today, let's go. That's what I signed up for.
It's what I really said was about a month into TNA, about two tapings and a pay-per-view, I went, Ariel, Tommy, I go, anything you need from me. I go, if we have a show in Des Moines, Iowa on Sunday, and you want me to go Monday through Saturday to do PR, I will be there. You won't get a peep out of me. You don't even need to have a handler for me. I can take care of it myself. I go, I believe in this product so much that whether I'm champ, whether I'm on the show, whatever, I go, I will be an ambassador and I will be there. And when I'm not flying into somewhere else, I'm still talking about it at my house, or I'm at another show singing the praises of everybody involved. So this last year has been, again, I said scary, but like being an ambassador to this place, it's something I will do forever.
And obviously, like these are big times and good times in TNA, and I'm lucky enough to get to talk to you today following the announcements that have happened this week. Of course, the biggest thing is the partnership with WWE. I'm curious. I don't know if it's awkward, but like, what was your reaction to it? Because I think overall it's great for you. What's your feeling with it?
Oh, it's like they're obsessed with me. God, it's another text from WWE at 2 a.m. You up? I'm always up. I don't sleep. No, it's funny. I think it's cool. Like, I get to keep saying, like, guys, I tried to do a clean break here, and now you in the middle of the night you're driving past my house. Like, leave me alone. No, it's awesome. What a fantastic partnership for both sides here, because TNA up and coming, WWE this global dominant billionaire company. And it's like, here we go. We're going to help each other out. We're going to make it better for fans. And then behind the scenes, we're going to make it better for both companies. What a huge win. I think it's fantastic. I have no unfinished business in NXT, if that's what you're asking. Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you went to NXT? Like, for what? I was already the champ. What, can I win 2 championships there? Can I hold 2 of them up? But the cool part is it does open the door for Rumble appearances, for a Raw, for a SmackDown, for an Impact, a live Impact on a Thursday. Maybe someone shows up. Maybe Tuesday night at NXT. Maybe this Sunday at Genesis, someone walks out and you go, "Are you kidding me?" So, like, if you're going to announce that partnership, let's get rocking and rolling. And it's going to be good for everybody, most importantly, the fans.
If you could just allow me for 1 second to do some fantasy booking, and you don't have to comment on it, but when I saw it and I was like, hold on, okay, Nick, well, what if he faces Braun Breaker again? And maybe Braun's, obviously he's matured from the last time they faced.
Sure.
This is what I want. If any of the brass is watching this, to make sure this interview is fantastic, I want you in the ring with AJ Styles again. You guys create magic.
Woo.
And AJ coming back to TNA.
AJ, love him. He won, and that was another one. Like, I thought my whole life, I'm like, I won't wrestle AJ. I'm never gonna wrestle Robert Roode. I'm never gonna wrestle Tanahashi. All these guys that I just thought, I'm here forever. I'm gonna become an agent when I can't wrestle anymore, whatever. AJ was one of those guys. One, he can do everything. We all know that. But I didn't know that in person until he came to WWE. And then we got to have a couple big matches, and it was really, really fun. It's when you tie up with someone or you feel something from it, you either go, "Ooh, this is going to be tough," or, "Hey, this guy knows what he's doing," or, "This guy, I don't know." When you get in there and you go, "This guy knows, he's got it down. He's so good. He looks vicious. He can back it up. He can roll with you." And my absolute favorite part, he can roll around. Division I, Kent State, all-time winningest wrestler, no big deal. But there's a couple of guys that can't hang or think they can, and it's just nice to know that when in doubt, I get to have that first minute of the match, or later as you're rolling around and going and looking for a finish or something, I can lock into some collegiate wrestling, and he's someone who could give it back. And I always been him, Cesaro, and there's a handful of guys, Bobby Lashley, just guys that can roll around and go with you. And it's like, Gable, my favorite, but it's like, it's not full on hard, but when you get that wrestling room 80% to see who can go and who can't go, and it's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and I'm smiling right now, not only hearing what you're saying, but and you might not remember this. I remember it clear as day, even though it was 8 years ago, on a random SmackDown in like June, a roll up that AJ Styles, or you were pinning him in a roll up, and he reversed that somehow into a Styles clash. That might be one of the greatest Styles clashes of all time. So I hope that happens. I'm trying to speak it into existence.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to ask you is, you're beloved by those that love wrestling the most, right? So when you go to these cities, quote unquote, smart cities, the Chicagos, the Phillies, the New Yorks, no matter what's going on within the stories being told, you're getting cheered. Was that a situation where it was like, I really appreciate that because these are the people that spend the most time and usually the most money? Or is it a situation like, nah, this isn't what I'm trying to portray?
It's weird because, at certain points, I was, you get frustrated at work, and you have people behind the scenes, some of the greatest of all time that you look up to, going, "You're better than everyone here, and you're doing the best being a sports entertainer, professional wrestler." And it's like, but we're going with these 5 guys. And you go, at a point, you get so frustrated that, no matter what, like, just to poke through that, watching me lose almost every match, and then watching me not talk too much, and then watching me be a bad guy, and watching the crowd slowly come around to my side, I go, guys, I think they just respect my work. A huge part of it was the Money in the Bank cash in, which everyone talks about. That's fine. It was a huge moment, freaking awesome. It's not because of me being good at my job. It's because of the fans sticking by a guy who was good at his job, no matter what the office told them to think. And they've changed WrestleMania main events for Daniel Bryan. They've done different things. The crowd actually factors in sometimes. It's really hard to get it done, to go against a billionaire's plan, but sometimes you can poke it in there and get a couple little wins for the good guys. And cashing in and becoming world champion was such a special moment, because those fans that could have said, you know what, WWE has told us subconsciously or consciously that this is not their guy, so we should stop paying attention. And they refuse to. And that's why that reaction stands out so much more, because of the fans.
And I think that reaction that you have and the reaction that Joe Hendry has as you guys go in the ring at Genesis is so fascinating, which we'll get to. Just the crowd kind of pulling it in the direction that they want and being so passionate about it that there's no choice. Like you said, the billionaire has to go against what he wants. But since we are talking about crowd chants, I am curious, because I've actually never been able to ask this to a wrestler. Do you get as annoyed as I do whenever there's a match with you're able to use weapons and the crowd instantly within 10 seconds of the match begins to chant for tables?
Yes and no. One, in your head, you're like, God, they don't care about the story. They don't care about anything. We're trying to get to it. And then also there's a point of, am I doing something wrong that they're not paying attention to me? And then they're thinking about getting to the tables. We know the tables are coming. It's a Hitchcock. Like, here's the gun. There's 30 minutes to go. At some point, someone's getting murdered. What's going to happen? And you have to go you have to like creatively go, I'm reaching for it. It gets taken away. And like, I got my hand on it. And he smacks it out of my hand. It's loaded and it's aimed towards me and I pull it away. And then, so I could see myself watching an old Alfred Hitchcock Presents, because I've seen all of them over and over, going, get the gun. And you're like, wait a minute, relax, enjoy the story. And then there's if they're doing that, that's fantastic. You know what I do when you learn what to do, especially if you're a bad guy like me, except for right now. In general, just in life, I'm a bad guy. I play a good guy on TV. So if you immediately on the bell get the tables from everybody, you know what I do? I roll out, I grab that table, I start to open it, and I shove it right back under the ring, give him the finger, and walk back in. Boo! And then you get down to it, and then you start rock and rolling. You know how to give him those dips. And then I let the good guy knock me on my ass, roll out there, go to get the table, and I hit him before he can do it. And it's the same thing as I'm saying with the Hitchcock grabbing the gun. You know it's coming, but you don't know when. I'll let you know when you're ready. Yeah.
Way to be politically correct. If you're saying it within 10 seconds of a match, please effing relax, bro. We've got about 20 minutes here. I promise it's happening. It's there. That's why it's there. I'm fascinated by this, and I know that a lot of conversation
that I've seen all those Hitchcocks. Yeah, it's a big deal. I don't really brag about it. And there's Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Then there's Alfred Hitchcock Hour Mysteries. It's all the movies. Rope. No one knows that one. Everyone knows like The Birds and Psycho. Go watch Rope. It's beautiful. It's a play that happens in one setting. Ugh. Anyway, please.
How much do you judge me that? I don't think I've ever watched an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
No, I don't judge people for watching TV shows. I've never seen Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. Never saw it, but it doesn't make me a bad person. All the bad things I do make me a bad person.
There it is. When it comes to the Superkick, I'm curious, in your career, did you ever think of ditching it?
No, I tried to make it my finish because I saw so many using it as a non-finish, and which is okay. We could all say, like, oh, remember Jake Snake's EDT? Yeah, that was 50 years ago, bro. It's a different time now. Nobody was twirling and flipping in the air and landing on people, and it's a different time. So when I watched it become a transitional move or a false finish, which is fine.
Anything, honestly.
Or anything, yeah. Or however anyone uses it. That is pure. That is their artistic license to do whatever they like. I said, hey, I don't win a lot of matches, but if I do, I would like this to be my finish, because one, at first, no one's going to there was 7 other super kicks on the show. They didn't end the match, and no one will see it coming. And then 2, I can make it my own to where no one's kicking out of it. No one's stopping out of it. And I got to a point where the boss was mad at me. Or one of the bosses was mad that I was using it. And I don't know why. I think it was maybe a personal thing. I don't know. But I had to switch out of it. And then it's a weird thing. And then a mentor of mine, Michael Hayes, was like, hey, 10 years ago, now that you're a heel and you use that kick, why don't you start stomping the corner to piss everybody off? And I was like, oh, baby. I go, that's beautiful. Let's do it. And then I got to a point to where I didn't want to do it anymore. I go, hey, man, I'm trying to do my own thing. You're like, no, this will be a good way to get them booing. You're like, okay, whatever. So there's all these different pieces behind the scenes that people don't totally know. But I love that anything can be a finish if you make it a finish. A punch to the back of the head, a punch to the face, whatever it is, a thumb to the neck. Anything in the world can be a finish if you establish it, and nobody protects their stuff better than Randy. And that's not a dig on him. There's a reason Randy is Randy, because every once in a while when you're thinking of all these cool things to do, and then he made sure to be professional and protect himself. And some of us don't always have that option that some of us do have. And he protected that thing, and there's a reason everybody loses their mind when that happens, because he did it.
I'm giving you a lot of questions of like the mind of a Reddit user. Does it work? Well, because when
I
you're
don't even really
talking about
know what that means. Is that
I'm giving you all these like
his doc. I don't know anything about Reddit other than like people are talking on there, I think.
Which is that's kind of my thing. Like all these things that people talk about on the internet and spend days arguing about that we have no idea what the hell we're talking about, because we've never spent a day backstage and never received a paycheck from any of these wrestling companies. So when it comes to the Superkick, is it like, did you have to talk to Sean about it? Like, hey, I want to use this, or how does any of that stuff work?
Well, I don't think so. If he was on the show, and by the way, he was when I was in the Spirits, but he was actively like part to full-time wrestler. If he was on a show, I would have been a professional to a certain point of like, oh, we're both winning on a show. First of all, if I'm winning, it's a 1 in 1,000 chance, and he's likely not going to be on the show. But if we're in San Antonio and he's kicking off his super kick in the Undertaker to set up a 6-month feud to go to WrestleMania, I'm smart enough to go, I'm not doing this tonight. But because he had been there first and done it. But if he goes away for 10 years and I'm the Intercontinental Champion on the show and I'm running shit and I'm the super kick guy and he's on it, sorry, brother, this is my show. Like, there's some respect there, but there's also like, hey, are you using that kick tonight? Hey, would you? And by the way, if he asked me like, hey, we're going for something really special here, could you do a roll up or something? I was like, hell yeah, I can. Thank you for asking. Yeah, damn right. There's respect there. You came before me. I get it. Show some respect. But at some point you go, when you get asked to do different things like that, you get asked like, hey, could you not do your finish tonight? I'm like, hey, Sean, if Hulk Hogan asked you to not do your finish tonight because they got something special going, what would you have told him? Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Anyway, here we go. You know what I mean? So you got to remember, it's not always about showing respect. You got to protect yourself at some point. So, but anyway, dude, any legend asking me nicely if they're coming and haven't been there for 10 years, or it's known to be their thing, I will happily pay homage to them and say, thank you for leading the way. This is your night tonight. You take over.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for the insight. Nick Nemeth joining us here on Unlikely. TNA Genesis this Sunday, January 19th. You get it on pay-per-view. You can get it on TNA Plus. Nick will be defending his TNA World Championship against Joe Hendry. And you talk about protect. I'm kind of curious, and this is weird asking you to give advice to your opponent. But I kind of hinted at it earlier with some of the comparisons of your guys' career and kind of, for lack of a better term, like a lot of fans care about you guys a lot, and the fans that have pushed you guys to where you guys have gotten, and not necessarily those were the plans that the powers that be had. And, another, you can get the Zack Ryder comparisons too with Joe Hendry and some of these viral, using social media and just being witty and trying to get your name out there outside of the minutes that you have on television. What advice do you have to Joe Hendry to maintain it?
Wow, it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't hurt like a game plan or something. I'm plotting and planning all my stuff to be ready because that's my job. But to maintain it, it's what I've behind the scenes, very much like we've done on the show. Behind the scenes, I've had this similar conversations with more in depth to like, hey, I saw you as the Zack Ryder do it like in a world in 2025. This isn't 2008. It's 2025 to where every wrestler has their own brand and t-shirt. Every wrestler is on social media, putting a video out, putting a song out, putting a mini movie out, anything, answering tweets all day long, trying to stand out of the box, trying to start a war with somebody of words online. Everybody in a world where everyone's doing more, for you to stand out as the viral guy right now, there's two things there. One, oh, wow, that is huge. That is really hard to do in our business, period. And then you go, well, you could become champion that month, and then what? How's the work? I don't know. How are you going to do with carrying the company on your back? I don't know. In this case, it was the viral, organic, everyone's behind Joe, and then he lost his first chance. And then now he went to the back of the line and built himself up every step of the way to where now you have the viral guy who's not just a side attraction, like, hey, we're going to chant his name and do the thing. It's a viral guy who has now earned his place to be in the main event. And if he comes out on top, he's now earned it and got the viral, organic, everything. So every fan base could be on board with him because he's done it the right way, theoretically. He backed it up. He didn't just take that 15 minutes of fame, cash in, and go. He got it, went back to the beginning, and earned it again. And that is something that is so huge. That's like Zack Ryder, he got a sold-out Madison Square Garden with The Rock on the microphone getting drowned out by We Want Ryder. How insane is that? It's not like Ryder was the main event of the show or the world champion. He was the guy who wasn't booked on the show, and he wasn't winning when he was on TV. That is insane. To get that part, and then a month later they throw him off a stage to try and kill him off or whatever, like in a wheelchair. And you're like, okay, we get it. They're letting you know this is over with. In this case, he had a chance to really build a deep character and not be one-dimensional, and he's gone above and beyond for that. And I really feel like this is his best shot. But also, how many chances do you get? This is do or die for him on Sunday.
No, 100%. And again, you can watch it on TNA Plus. Nick, before we get you out of here, two quick questions. First and foremost, 2025, what is your goal for this year in wrestling or in all the other things that you're involved with?
Someone asked me that a couple weeks ago, and I go, I don't have like a wish board or an opponent's list or anything like that. 2025 is going to be a huge year for myself and TNA, and it's gonna take some extra hard work and a little bit of luck and a little bit of everybody coming together and a couple special moments, and it's going to be the launch pad for TNA, and that's the important part to me. Like, yeah, Tanahashi has 1 year left. I would love to be one of those matches with him. John Cena has 1 year left. I would love for Big E and AJ to show up on stage, and he comes out with a live Impact, and we face off, and we get one more match. I would love all these pieces. What I really want is TNA to be talked about all year long in a positive light because of the work that's got in and while everyone's buzzing about the product.
It's amazing. And we'll close out with this. Thank you for bringing up John Cena for the perfect segue, because I don't assume that we're going to talk again this year. So I want to get it in now. You guys' history, it's vast, a lot of matches and a lot of history there. For me, the one that sticks out was a random Monday Night Raw. You and Vicky Guerrero getting booed for about 15 minutes. I'm not even sure if that was the plan that you guys had to execute. But when I ask you about Cena, what's your favorite moment with him if there can only be one?
Bro, first and foremost, the incident you're referring to, it was definitely not planned. That was one of those nights where we went from like a 7-minute segment and a 7-minute match to 15 minutes of talking into a commercial break, into a 12-minute match, and I think they cut 1 or 2 matches on the show. And now that sucks because I've been there. I've been that one. Like, hey, we got to cut you out of the show. That happens. The live show, as much as I hit my times for the most part, a lot. 15 seconds adds up over 3 hours, and all of a sudden you got to cut an hour out. They chanted so loudly. I wish it was for both of us. It was mostly for Vicky, but they chanted so loudly and wouldn't stop. I was next to her and couldn't hear her yelling into a microphone. And we're all communicating with each other. Someone on the outside, a producer, and John and me. And he's like, hang on. He's like, this is going to be 10 more minutes. And it's like, oh shit, here we go. This is gonna be cool. And in the commercial, we went all the way to the commercial break before we even did anything. And he's like, all right, now we're gonna do the match, but it's gonna be 6 minutes longer. It's double the length, but it's John. So it's so easy to work with him. He's the easiest guy to work with in the world. And if you're calling on the fly, you could do a 30-minute main event at WrestleMania with John on the fly, and no one's going to know the difference. So it's so great to be able to call that with him and be a part of it. And it was a special night, and it's one of those nights that reminds me of him and I were overseas. And I want to say it was like Daniel Bryan and Punk were like fighting over the world title. So it was the first time Cena wasn't on last. We were the intermission match. And I was lucky enough to be the guy who's his foil. And I think it was just a little bit like we were going with the wrestlers for now. Like, John and we're kind of going wrestlers. Guys like me kind of count, but like the Ring of Honor-y kind of guys are giving him a shot to draw some money on top. And those guys are fighting in the main event. And we got to a point where I was having such a good camaraderie with John and being there for everything that when the crowds were hot, they were extra hot, and he wanted to do just a little bit more to show everybody that's like, it's not Hogan just hitting a boot and just like, I can go, but I have a set thing that I do because he can't. And we got to a point where we're the intermission match, and he almost had that mentality that I did when he's fighting Brock at the end. Like, we're going to show these MFers who the real main event is, brother. And we got to a point where it was a second or third night. It was such a hot crowd. And again, I'm loving this because they're booing John, but with smiles on their faces. You know what I mean? So I'm getting cheered, but they're there for everything. A tackle by John. 1, 2, oh! And it's like such a hot, I want to say it's like France or something. It's like such a beautiful crowd. And we got to a point where we do all this stuff, we get some big false finish, and then John hits his finish, and it's over, and they all cheer. They were so hot, and it was so fun, and we were just so congruent that night that we do our thing. He hits his finish. The refs goes, 1. He goes, kick out. I go, what? 2. He goes, kick out. I go, kick out. The place blows the roof off. The referee almost counts 3. He's like, what? We go into 5 more minutes. I do another false finish, and then we get back to it one more time, and they blow the roof off a second time. And I go, damn it! This is pro wrestling. God, I love that aspect of feeling on the fly and being able to deliver. Such an awesome thing. I love that you knew that story with Vicky getting booed out of the building too.
No, it sticks out in my mind. And also, shout out to WWE Vault. You guys now know what to upload next. Please upload that match with the cameras. But until then, we'll be ready for this Sunday, January 19th, TNA Genesis. You'll see NXT. We'll see what happens with NXT and how they're going to interact with the TNA superstars. You can catch it on TNA Plus on pay-per-view as well. Nick Nemeth will be taking on Joe Hendry as he defends his world championship. Nick, as always, it's an absolute pleasure and hope to talk to you again soon.
Dude, Sunday's going to be, we're kicking off 2025, right? And it's going to be a beautiful thing.